The transfer portal continues to churn at an unprecedented rate. We've seen some of the top ranked players already come off the board this week, while others like Silas, Demary, and Jaland, Lowe are on the board and in high demand. To help break us all down, we've got the czar of the transfer portal, as I like to call him, Travis Branham, joining the show. Trav, the first thing I want to ask you about is Louisville, where it seems like Pat Kelsey is once again ahead of everyone when it comes to rebuilding out of the portal. What can you tell us about the Cards?
Yeah, Pat Kelsey is absolutely cooking right now. He has already added two major transfers in Adrian Woolley and most recently Ryan Conwell. Looking at those two guards, we have Woolley as a five-star prospect who in time I think will develop into an all-ACC player and potentially even an NBA player. And then obviously with Ryan Conwell, you're getting a guy that's going to also probably be on that all-ACC team list next season. And so when you pair those two alongside Mikel Brown Jr., I've been thinking about it, and I don't think there's going to be a better backcourt in the entire country next season. They are going to be an absolute problem.
All right, let's get down to the portal. Let's talk about Silas Demary, who is leaving Georgia after 2 seasons. What do we know?
Yeah, he is already out on the visit trail. He has been to St. John's, and he is now at UConn. And I am anticipating him to make a decision rather quickly, just as we're seeing with all these other transfers out there before this April 6th, April 7th deadline that many people are operating by. And so the team I'm looking at the closest right now is the UConn Huskies.
All right, another point guard, Jacoby Gillespie, jumped in the portal after Kevin Willard left Maryland for Villanova. What's the latest on his process?
Yeah, this one is pretty interesting. I anticipate that Tennessee is the team to beat. They are home, and he has connections to the program. However, he is hearing out other schools. Other schools are expected to go visit him and have their meetings with him. But as of right now, I have a crystal ball prediction in for the Volunteers.
All right, Trav, I want to quickly ask you about another point guard, and that is Jaland Lowe at Pittsburgh. Do we know where his process is headed? Because he also declared for the draft.
Yeah, so he has a do not contact tag. He, I believe, has a pretty good idea of a few schools that he's keeping his eye on. And there are a bunch of schools around the country in need of a point guard. And schools I'm looking at are North Carolina, Kentucky, Ole Miss, potentially Miami. He has strong ties to Jay Lucas and that. Obviously, a Texas kid as well. So there's programs like Texas that need a point guard as well. So he's going to have his options out there.
All right, let's talk about the bigs. This week in the McDonald's All-American game, Darren Peterson said Bill Self asked him if he was worried. He said no, but Flory Bidunga has put his name in the portal. Will DP have his lob threat next year in Lawrence? What do we think about that?
There's still a chance that Flory Bidunga returns to Kansas. I'm actually told they are currently in second on his suitors list, and the team in the lead and the team to beat is the Auburn Tigers. They recruited him heavily out of high school, did a great job with him, finished second in high school to Kansas. But Bruce Pearl and the Tigers certainly are making some early headway, but Kansas is not out of that yet.
That is absolutely fascinating because that is literally the sequel to his high school recruitment. And that the original story, shall we say, had many chapters. So very fascinating dynamic with Flory Bidunga. All right, at Arizona, Henri Veesaar has put his name in the portal. What do we know about his process at this point?
Yeah, as soon as he hit the portal, he basically hopped on a plane and headed to North Carolina. And I anticipate that this one will also wrap up fairly quickly. I think North Carolina is in a good spot to land him. Now, maybe there's a curveball thrown in and he decides to take another couple of visits. But a return to Arizona has also not been ruled out here. But I think the Wildcats are going to have a fight on their hands with the Tar Heels.
All right, North Carolina, of course, landing a commitment from Jonathan Powell, the West Virginia transfer. Trav, last question. I know we've talked a lot about Isaac McKneely on here in his various visits. It sounds like he is getting close to a decision. What do we know about the Virginia transfer?
This is prototypical portal recruitment right here in terms of it was Louisville all the way to start between them and North Carolina. North Carolina was pulling away with it. Tennessee jumps in, gets him on a visit. And I've heard a flurry of conflicting information over the last 24 hours. Is it going to be Louisville or is it going to be Tennessee? I'm still trying to figure that out. Obviously, Louisville now has 3 players in the backcourt, but that's not stopping their pursuit of McKneely. So they could easily solidify the best backcourt in the country, but obviously there's a very strong fit in an example, a history of example with Chaz Lanier and Dalton Knecht coming through Tennessee the last 2 years.
All right, as we know, the transfer portal intel, it changes by the hour. You are going to want to keep it locked on 247sports.com for all the latest of what Trav is reporting. And remember, you can use the promo code PORTAL for 60% off an annual VIP subscription on 247 Sports. That's only available by watching this show. You can find that deal only here. The deal ends April 23rd at midnight Eastern Time.